Hi, my name is Tyson West. I'm the Executive Director of the Spokane campus of Pacific Northwest Adult and Teen Challenge. And we are a long-term, faith-based, residential recovery program. Our mission is to put hope within reach of every addict and their families and to help people overcome the bondages of drugs and alcohol through a growing relationship with Jesus Christ. So we are a recovery Christian discipleship. People come to us from all different walks of life, but roughly 80% of those who we serve have experienced homelessness due to their substance abuse. We have 11 campuses in 5 states. We're in Alaska, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Oregon. We have 7 men's campuses, 3 women's, and 1 adolescent program. So altogether, we have 310 beds across the Pacific Northwest. And our mission, we want to help people find sustained freedom from addiction. So I know this program works because it worked for me. I checked into Adult and Teen Challenge in 2011. This was my 14th recovery program. I was a heroin addict, a meth addict, an alcoholic. I was a liar. I was a thief. I was a rebel, and I was homeless. But I didn't start out that way. Now, how did I get there? So today I'm honored to be able to tell my story here at the World Homeless Day Summit. Every person in this room has a story. Every homeless person has a story. And it's through our stories that we connect. And we connect because when it comes down to it, we're all people. So I'm compelled to say something up front because it's profoundly true for me. If Jesus did not intervene in my story, in my life, then my story would be a tragedy. So I need to give a shout out and give glory to God because if Russell Wilson and Steph Curry can do it on national television, I can do it here.
All right, sir.
If it wasn't for Jesus, I'd either be in prison, in a mental institute, I'd be under a bridge right now with a needle in my arm. Most likely I'd be dead. I wrestled with substance abuse for 20 years. I experienced homelessness off and on for 13 years, and I was chronically homeless for 2 years. Again, how did I end up there? So I was born here in Spokane, 1976. My mother was really young. She was 17 when she had me. She was still in high school. My father, he was a good guy too, and they never were together. I never got to experience family with them, but they did their best that they could co-parenting me. They eventually both married separately. I had step-parents. I moved around. I went to grade school in Potlatch, Idaho, in Moscow, Idaho. Came up here to Meade, went to middle school in Meade. And then I reached a point where I was kind of rebellious and I needed to go move with my father down in the small town of Palouse, small little farm town. And there, I loved it down there. Played sports, football, and basketball. My family owned a grocery store, so I got to work all throughout from 8th grade on through high school. But the problem for me was I had access to the beer cooler, and that's where it started. That's what started this. And so when I first had that taste of alcohol, I thought, wow, this is good. This is fun. So I ended up graduating, and I came up here to Spokane Falls Community College, but I was pretty overwhelmed with the bigger city. I was overwhelmed with school. It didn't feel good, and it wasn't fun, so I ran from it. I quit. I failed. I moved back to Palouse and worked there for a little while with my father, and little did he know that he was enabling me down this path of addiction. I decided to go to Seattle. I thought, well, Seattle's cool. Seattle'll be fun. My father helped me get into the Art Institute of Seattle, but once again, I was anxious and I was overwhelmed by school, overwhelmed by the city of Seattle. It wasn't fun. It didn't feel good, so I dropped out. I failed. I ran. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to move down to Portland. Portland's a cool place to go, and so I moved down there and I got a job working for Hewlett-Packard doing tech support, and I got an apartment there. But then I started reading these books on counterculture, and I'm learning about the hippie generation, and I'm learning about the merry pranksters and the electric Kool-Aid acid test, and I'm reading books about the beatnik generation, a book specifically called On the Road by Jack Kerouac. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, but I didn't see much meaning in what I was doing. I was developing this anti-establishment attitude. I thought working for the man was mundane, and I sensed that there was something oppressive about it. I wanted to be free. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to do what I perceived the world was telling me to do. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, right? I'll tell you right now, there is a large portion of our homeless population that are living like this, discontent with the status quo, not buying into the current world order, not seeing value or purpose in the system. And a way to rebel against that is to just not participate, to live on the fringes and freeload because we have a society that enables and supports this. This breeds the entitlement mentality. The world owes me. Getting high or drunk gives the illusion of freedom and fulfillment. It's fun, but only for a season. I used to say, I'm not homeless, I'm home free. My community were the street kids and drug addicts, and we reveled in our anti-culture lifestyle. Social services like Social Security, disability, and food stamps are great for people who truly need them. But I knew people who would trade their food stamps to support their drug habit, and whose goal was to get on Social Security so that they can get a free check every month. They knew what diagnosis they needed to have, and they knew what symptoms they needed to say in order to get it. So around the age 21, I decided to quit everything. I got a backpack and I decided to hitchhike across the country, pursuing this idea of freedom. I was anti-authoritarian, yet I lived off people's generosity. I was a dreamer who chased whatever pleased me. But I was also a runner from whatever didn't feel good. This was my MO over and over again. I would settle down a bit, get a job, get back on my feet. I would eventually quit and run again and again. Perpetual failure, discontent, and self-destruction. Looking for purpose and meaning, but really I was just drifting. It led to some very dark places, especially once I started shooting meth and heroin. My drinking and drugging and rebellion started causing major problems for me. I was alienated from friends and family because of my behavior when I was intoxicated, and I was always intoxicated. I couldn't stop. My ideals of living as a free spirit from the construct of society was a farce. The reality was, I was a mooch. I became a mooch and enslaved by my own cravings and convulsions. I was an addict. I was broken. My master was myself, and I worshiped myself by seeking pleasure or escaping discomfort. My rebellion and carelessness led to criminal behavior. Things like obstruction, resisting arrest, DUIs, assaults, theft, possession. Altogether, I've been charged with 30 criminal charges, all connected with my substance abuse and rebellious spirit. So, starting problems for me, I knew that I had a problem, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I started seeking help and entered a total of 14 inpatient and outpatient detox programs, Adult and Teen Challenge being the 14th program. One year I tried ending it all by stabbing myself in the neck 3 times, which landed me in the hospital for 17 days. The last 2 years of my drug addiction was literally hell. I was 70 pounds lighter than I am now. My teeth were falling out of my head. I had nothing. I was rummaging through garbage cans and eating out of dumpsters. How did that kid who was MVP of my football team my senior year end up here? People don't change until they are motivated to change. People don't change until the pain of staying the same is more than the pain of changing. Either way, it's going to hurt. Staying stuck in that lifestyle is unbearable. Changing, overcoming addiction is going to be painful. So how did I escape this perpetual failure? First, I had to own up to my actions. That is step 1. Nobody but myself was responsible for my failure. It wasn't my young parents' fault. It wasn't society's fault. I had to take responsibility for my actions. A lot of people are addicted and homeless because of their own actions, and they're never going to change until they take responsibility for where they're at. Step 2, I had to face the natural consequences of my actions. In order to grow, people need to face the difficulty and pain that they have caused and work through it. Pain exists as to tell us that something is wrong and motivate us to act so that we can fix the problem. Trying to escape pain or medicate it only perpetuates more of the problem. Rescuing people from the natural consequences of their actions only short circuits this process. I know sometimes it's hard because we can be compassionate and empathetic people, which is a good thing. But just like with our kids, if we continue to rescue them from their natural consequences, people will not learn and they will not grow. They will be stunted. The consequences of my failure were unbearable, but ultimately it motivated me to change, to make changes in my life. My family closed the door on me. I didn't have anywhere to go because nobody would let me in, because I was a thief. I was lonely. Even drug dealers wouldn't deal with me anymore because I owed them money. I started experiencing health problems because of my use. Criminal charges and jail time started piling up. I got picked up for my second felony for stealing a vehicle, and I knew I was going to go down for a while, potentially going to prison. But this time, jail woke me up because it forced me to experience the full effects of my consequences. Jail helped me to stop running because I had nowhere to go. Where else would I go? And it forced me to take a good, painful look at myself. I always wanted a fast, easy, and pain-free solution. I wanted someone to wave a magic wand and give me a magic pill and make my problems go away. But that's not reality. The reality is that many failures require many steps of change to recover from it. Folks, it requires work. There is no magic wand, there is no magic pill. And if we put more work into a person's recovery than they do, then it will not work. And we will get burnt out. And we will throw away resources trying to help. For myself, I needed to invest months into the process of change. And I needed help because I had no self-discipline to sustain it. Thank God for the merciful consequences of jail, because without it, I would be dead. And thank God for Adult and Teen Challenge, where I found the support and hope that I needed. And I met the God who transformed my character to sustain my recovery and introduced me to true fulfillment, which today is helping other men who are caught in the same bondage that I once was, and sharing that there is true hope and that there is freedom. So thank you for allowing me to share my story today. We have an Adult and Teen Challenge. We have a table out in the foyer. I would love to meet you and hear your story.